The night was silent except for the sound of tools striking metal. Inside a small workshop at the edge of the city, a young human mechanic worked alone. His name was Aaron. His hands were rough, covered in grease, but his eyes carried the focus of a man who trusted machines more than people. Sparks lit the shadows around him as he welded a broken engine together. Aaron had always loved machines. They were simple. They either worked or they didn't. Unlike people, machines did not lie, did not hide secrets, and did not betray. But tonight, as he worked, something strange disturbed the calm. The workshop lights flickered once, then twice. He frowned, wiping sweat from his forehead. Then he felt it, a shift in the air, the smell of smoke and ash, like a fire burning far away. Aaron turned and his breath caught. She was standing at the door, the dragon woman. She was tall, her figure cloaked in shadows. Her eyes glowed like molten gold, and her long dark hair moved as if touched by a breeze that wasn't there. Her presence filled the small workshop with a weight that pressed against Aaron's chest. He froze, the wrench slipping from his hand and clattering to the floor. "You came," he whispered. His voice was unsteady, but his eyes stayed fixed on her. The dragon woman stepped inside, her movements smooth, controlled, dangerous. The smell of smoke grew stronger, and for a moment Aaron swore he saw faint embers trailing from her fingertips. She studied him silently, as if measuring his soul. Finally, her voice broke the silence. Deep, clear, carrying both warning and command. "Tomorrow you face my clan," she said. "Don't show fear." Aaron's heart thudded in his chest. Her clan. He had heard of them only in whispers. The Dragon Clan, creatures of fire and storm, ancient and powerful, who walked in human form when they wished but whose true shapes were monstrous, terrifying, unstoppable. And now she was telling him, her human lover, a simple mechanic, that tomorrow he would stand before them. He tried to laugh, but his throat was too dry. "Your clan?" he managed. "Why me? I'm no fighter. I fix engines, not—" Her eyes flashed. A thin curl of smoke escaped her lips. "Do not mock this," she said sharply. "They will test you. They will watch you. And if you tremble, if you bow your head in fear, they will tear you apart." Aaron swallowed hard. He had seen her strength before. Once, in anger, she had melted steel with her bare hands. He had no doubt her clan was far worse. "But why bring me?" he asked, forcing his voice to steady. "Why risk me at all?" For a moment she was silent. Her eyes softened, just slightly. "Because you are mine," she said. "And they must know who you are. If they do not accept you, they will destroy you. And me as well." Her words were heavy. They landed like stones in his chest. She was not only warning him, she was trusting him with her life. Aaron turned away, pretending to search for his dropped wrench. But really he was buying himself a moment to breathe. His hands trembled. His mind raced. Meet her clan. Face ancient dragons. Pretend he was not afraid. It sounded impossible. He picked up the wrench and held it tightly, as if the cold steel could give him courage. "You know what I am," he said quietly. "A mechanic. A man of machines. I'm not built for this." The dragon woman moved closer. The heat from her body brushed against him. He could feel her power like fire behind his back. "Then you must learn," she said. "Tomorrow." Aaron closed his eyes. His workshop felt smaller now, like a cage. The machines around him suddenly seemed fragile, meaningless. For the first time, he wished he could crawl inside one and hide. Instead, he turned and faced her. Her golden eyes burned into his. She was beautiful, terrible, and utterly beyond his world. And yet, somehow, she had chosen him. "Tell me," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "What happens if I fail?" The dragon woman's expression did not change. She stepped closer still, so close he could see the faint lines of scales glimmering at the edges of her skin. She leaned down, her voice a whisper against his ear. "Then they will eat you." The words sent ice down his spine. He pulled back, his heart racing. But she was deadly serious. He stared at her in silence, breathing hard, feeling the weight of what tomorrow would bring. He wanted to refuse, to run, to hide. But something in her gaze held him still, something fierce, something that told him she was not only warning him, but begging him to be strong. Slowly, Aaron nodded. "I'll go," he said. His voice shook, but the words were true. A faint smile touched her lips, sharp and dangerous, but almost proud. "Good," she said. "Then be ready. At dawn we leave." She turned, her cloak of shadows flowing around her as she walked back to the door. But before stepping into the night, she paused. Her glowing eyes lingered on him one last time. "Remember, Aaron?" she said softly. No fear, not even a heartbeat. And then she was gone. The workshop fell silent again, but it was no longer the same silence as before. The air felt heavier, the shadows deeper. Aaron sank into his chair, his wrench clattering from his hand. He buried his face in his palms, breathing hard. Tomorrow he would face dragons. Ancient, merciless, fire-born dragons. He had promised to go, but deep in his heart he knew the truth. He was afraid, terribly afraid. And as the night dragged on, while the machines around him stood silent and cold, that fear grew stronger. The dragon woman's warning echoed in his mind again and again. "Tomorrow you face my clan. Don't show fear." But Aaron knew hiding fear was far harder than fixing any machine. The night had been long, filled with restless thoughts and broken sleep. Aaron barely closed his eyes before dawn arrived. The first light of morning slipped into his workshop, casting pale beams across the silent machines. He sat at his workbench, staring at his hands. They were strong, trained from years of repairing engines and broken gears. But today they shook. He had faced broken machines before, impossible repairs, even the risk of explosions. But this of facing dragons, facing her clan, was beyond anything his mind could accept. Still, he had given his word. The door creaked. The air shifted. She entered again, the dragon woman. Her eyes burned like fire in the morning light. She carried no bag, no weapon, no sign of fear. She was ready, as if this journey meant nothing to her. Aaron stood quickly, brushing the grease from his clothes. He had packed a small bag the night before. Tools, wrenches, metal pieces, things that gave him comfort. He wasn't sure what use they would be, but leaving them behind felt like leaving part of himself behind. "You are ready?" she asked, her voice steady. He hesitated, then nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." For a moment, her golden eyes softened, but only for a heartbeat. Then she turned and stepped outside. Aaron followed. The city was still half asleep. The streets were empty, the morning mist hanging low. But as he walked beside her, he felt the weight of every shadow, every silence. It was as if the world itself was watching. They moved quickly, leaving behind the human streets, the noise of machines, the comfort of steel. Soon, the ground beneath their feet changed. Cracks spread across the earth, blackened as if scorched by fire long ago. Aaron swallowed hard. He had never traveled this far from the city. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice low. She looked at him, her hair glinting in the light, her eyes sharp. "To the mountains, to the gate of my people." He almost asked why him, but the answer was already clear. Because she had chosen him. Because the clan demanded to see who she had chosen. And because, if he failed, there would be no second chance. They walked for hours. The air grew warmer. Strange sounds echoed from distant caves. Once, a shadow passed overhead, huge wings blocking the sun. Aaron froze, his heart racing. The dragon woman stopped and glanced up. Her eyes narrowed. "They watch already," she said. Aaron clenched his fists. "Your clan." She did not answer. She simply walked on. The path grew rougher, the ground sharp with stone and ash. Strange plants grew here, black and twisted, their roots glowing faintly as if fire still burned beneath the soil. Aaron felt like he had stepped into another world, one not meant for humans. He struggled to keep pace with her. She moved like a predator, smooth and unbothered by the rough terrain. His boots slipped on the rocks, his breath came faster, but he refused to complain. He remembered her words. Don't show fear. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. Finally, they reached a ridge. Below it stretched a valley filled with mist. Dark towers of stone rose from the ground like teeth. And in the distance, mountains loomed, their peaks glowing faint red as if fire lived within them. Aaron stopped, staring. This is, he whispered. My world, she finished. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp, watchful. Aaron swallowed hard. The valley below looked alive, shifting, moving in the mist. Shadows slithered, wings beat against the clouds, and faint roars echoed far below. He wanted to turn back. Every part of him screamed to return to the safety of machines and steel. But he forced his feet forward. The dragon woman turned to him. Do you fear? She asked. Aaron's throat tightened. The truth pressed against his lips. Yes, I fear everything. But instead he said, I'm here, aren't I? Her golden eyes studied him. Then, just for a moment, she smiled. Not cruel, not sharp, but proud. You will need that, she said. The clan is cruel. They will search for weakness. Do not let them find it. Aaron nodded, though his stomach twisted. They began their descent into the valley. The mist curled around them like smoke. The air grew hotter, heavy with the smell of sulfur. The sound of wings echoed closer now. Then came the roar. It shook the ground beneath their feet, deep and powerful, like thunder splitting the sky. Aaron froze, his heart slamming against his ribs. The dragon woman stopped, her head lifting sharply. Her eyes glowed brighter. They know, she said quietly. They wait for us. Aaron's knees wanted to give way. He forced them steady. His fingers dug into the strap of his bag, gripping it like a lifeline. The mist parted for a moment, and Aaron saw them. High above, circling in the sky, were shapes too large to be birds. Their wings stretched wide, their scales glimmering in the light. Dragons. Watching. Waiting. Aaron's mouth went dry. The dragon woman looked at him, her gaze burning. Remember. Stand tall. Show them no fear, or they will destroy you. He wanted to speak, but the words caught in his throat. So he only nodded. Together, they walked deeper into the valley. The mist closed around them. The sound of wings followed overhead. And in Aaron's heart, fear grew like fire. But he hid it, forcing every step forward. Because tomorrow the clan awaited. The valley seemed endless. Mist coiled around Aaron's boots as he followed the dragon woman down the rocky path. Every step echoed with the weight of unseen eyes. The wings above had not left. Their shadows passed over the ground again and again, reminding him that the clan was watching. He felt like prey being led into the jaws of a predator. At last, the path narrowed, twisting between two jagged cliffs. The air grew hotter, heavy with the smell of smoke. Aaron wiped sweat from his forehead, though the morning was cool. The dragon woman walked ahead, unbothered. Her posture was tall, commanding, as though the ground itself obeyed her. Aaron forced himself to follow without hesitation, though fear chewed at his insides. Then the cliffs opened. Aaron stopped. His heart skipped a beat. Before him rose a fortress unlike anything he had ever seen. The gate of the Dragon Clan. 2 colossal stone pillars stood on either side, carved into the shape of dragons with wings outstretched. Their eyes burned faintly with fire, as though alive. The walls behind them stretched high into the cliffs, jagged and black, as if the mountain itself had been carved into armor. At the center stood a massive gate, forged from black metal, etched with glowing symbols that pulsed like embers. Aaron swallowed hard. Machines and engines he could understand, but this was ancient power older than his entire world. The dragon woman stopped at the gate. She lifted her chin, and her voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Open. I bring him. For a moment nothing happened. Then the symbols on the gate flared brighter, and a deep rumble shook the ground. Slowly, the gates began to open. Mist poured from inside, hot and heavy, carrying the scent of ash. Aaron's grip on his bag tightened. His stomach twisted as he stepped forward. On the other side of the gate, shadows moved. Dozens of them. Shapes too tall to be human, too broad, too heavy. As the mist cleared, Aaron saw them. Dragons. Not in full beast form, but walking as humans. If humans were giants with glowing eyes and skin that shimmered like hidden scales. Their presence was overwhelming. Each one radiated strength, power, and ancient fire. Their eyes burned as they turned toward Aaron. Whispers filled the air. A human? Why bring this fragile thing here? He will die before sunset. Aaron's chest tightened. Every word struck like a blade. The dragon woman stood beside him, tall, unflinching. He is mine, she said firmly. Her voice carried like thunder through the crowd. The whispers grew sharper, more hostile. Some dragons stepped closer, circling, studying him like hunters sizing up prey. Aaron kept his head high, though his legs trembled. He remembered her warning. Don't show fear. But it was harder than breathing. Then, from the far end of the hall, a new presence stirred. The crowd fell silent. A figure stepped forward, taller, stronger, more terrifying than the rest. His skin glimmered like molten rock, his eyes twin flames, his very breath smoking as it touched the air. His presence alone made Aaron's knees weaken. The clan leader. He stopped before them, towering above Aaron. His voice rumbled like thunder. You bring this human? He said slowly, his burning eyes fixed on the dragon woman. Yes, she answered. Her voice was steady, unshaken. He is mine. The leader's gaze shifted to Aaron. The weight of it nearly crushed him. His chest tightened, his breath shallow. The leader leaned closer, his fiery eyes narrowing. Fragile, weak, breakable. Aaron felt his heart hammering, but he forced himself to stand straight. He clenched his jaw, refusing to look away. The leader studied him in silence. The air grew hotter, thicker, as if the mountain itself was holding its breath. Finally, the leader spoke. Then he must be tested. A murmur spread through the clan. Dragons hissed with approval, their voices sharp like sparks. The dragon woman's eyes flickered, but she said nothing. She had expected this. Aaron's throat was dry, but he forced his voice to work. Tested how? The leader's mouth curled into something that was not quite a smile. By fire, by courage, by skill. Only then will we know if you are worthy to stand at her side. The crowd growled in agreement. Flames flickered faintly between their teeth. Aaron's stomach dropped. Tests. Of fire. Of courage. Of skill. He was a mechanic, not a warrior. How could he face dragons? But the dragon woman turned her head slightly toward him. Just enough that he saw her eyes. Golden. Fierce. Unyielding. Her gaze said everything her lips did not. Do not fail me. Aaron drew a shaky breath. His fear pressed against him like a storm, but he stood tall, meeting the leader's burning gaze. I'll face your test, he said. A low growl of approval spread through the clan. The leader's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of interest now. Very well, he said. His voice was deep, final, like a hammer striking stone. Tomorrow we see what you are made of. The clan erupted with noise, hissing, growling, roaring. The air filled with heat, fire licking at the walls. The dragons hungered for the test, for the chance to watch the human fail. Aaron clenched his fists. He had promised. He had no choice now. The dragon woman placed her hand on his arm, just briefly. Her touch was warm, almost burning, but steady. It anchored him, even as fear gnawed at his insides. Then the leader turned away, his voice booming through the hall. Until then, let him rest. Tomorrow the human is tested. The clan parted, shadows shifting, eyes burning as they watched Aaron. He felt their hatred, their doubt, their hunger. The dragon woman led him deeper into the fortress. The gates closed behind them with a heavy crash, sealing him inside the world of dragons. Aaron looked once more at her. His voice was low, trembling despite his effort. Can I survive this? She did not answer. Her eyes glowed in the dark, sharp as firelight. And in that silence, Aaron knew the truth. The real trial had not yet begun. Aaron did not sleep that night. The Dragon Clan's fortress was carved into the mountain itself, a maze of stone halls lit by fire that never burned out. The walls glowed faintly with heat, as if the mountain was alive. The chambers were vast and echoing, filled with shadows that seemed to watch him. He sat in a corner of the small room they had given him. His bag of tools rested by his side, but tonight, even his tools gave little comfort. His mind was too loud, tested by fire, by courage, by skill. The words of the clan leader burned in his head. He was no warrior, no fighter. What test could he possibly survive against creatures who could melt stone with their breath? Still, he had no choice. At dawn, the dragon woman came for him. She entered the chamber quietly, her golden eyes calm, though he sensed the storm behind them. "It is time," she said. Eren stood, though his legs felt heavy. He lifted his bag, strapping it across his shoulder. "What are they going to do to me?" he asked. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, unreadable. "They will try to break you. You must not let them." She said no more. Together they walked through the halls. The walls seemed to tremble faintly, as though the mountain itself knew what was about to happen. At last they entered the great hall. The clan was waiting. Dozens of dragons stood in their human forms, their eyes glowing in the dim firelight. Their presence was overwhelming, a tide of heat and power pressing against Eren's chest. Whispers ran through the crowd as he entered. "The human. He will fail. Let us see him burn." Eren's jaw tightened, but he kept his back straight. The clan leader stood at the far end of the hall. His presence filled the chamber, his skin shimmering faintly with cracks of molten light. He raised one massive hand, and the whispers fell silent. "The human is here," the leader rumbled. "He claims he has courage. He claims he has skill. Let us see if that is true." The floor of the hall shifted with a heavy groan. Stone panels slid apart, revealing a pit at the center of the chamber. Heat rushed up from below, and Eren's skin prickled with sweat. Inside the pit was an ancient machine. It was vast, made of black iron and brass, its pieces twisted and broken with age. Strange glowing tubes ran across its frame, leaking sparks of fire and smoke. It looked like it had once been a heart of power, but now it was silent, broken. Eren's eyes widened. Even through fear, his mechanic's mind lit up. It was a machine. An ancient one, yes, but a machine nonetheless. The leader's voice echoed. "This is the fire core. It was built before your kind walked this world. It is dead. You will bring it back to life." A hiss ran through the crowd. Some dragons laughed, low and cruel. Eren swallowed hard. He glanced at the dragon woman. Her eyes were on him, sharp, warning. "Don't fail." The leader continued. "If you succeed, you may live. If you fail, the fire within it will consume you." Eren's stomach twisted. He had repaired engines before, machines built by human hands. But this was dragon technology. Ancient, alien, dangerous. Yet as he looked at the fire core, he felt something stir inside him. This was his world. Machines. Broken things waiting to work again. Slowly he stepped into the pit. The heat struck him immediately, heavy and suffocating. He knelt by the fire core, opening his bag with shaking hands. The dragons above watched in silence. Eren pulled out his tools, wrenches, pliers, bits of metal. Human tools for a human mechanic. They looked pitifully small against the vast, broken frame of the fire core. Still, he set to work. His hands shook at first, slick with sweat. But as he touched the machine, his fear slowly shifted. The fear of dragons, the fear of fire. It was still there, but his mind narrowed, focused. This was no different from the broken engines he had fixed 100 times before. He studied the gears, the burned-out tubes, the cracked casings. He traced the flow of energy, feeling where it had once run. Above him, dragons whispered. "He does not understand it. He will burn." Eren ignored them. He wiped grease on his sleeve, gripping his wrench tighter. Piece by piece he worked, adjusting a gear, tightening a bolt, replacing a broken seal with one from his bag. His human tools were clumsy against dragon steel, But slowly, the fire core began to shift. Sparks leapt. A low hum stirred. The dragons fell silent. Aaron's heartbeat quickened. He was close. He adjusted one last tube, locking it into place. The fire core roared to life. Heat exploded upward. A burst of flame that filled the pit. Aaron stumbled back, shielding his face. For a moment, he thought it had killed him. But then the fire settled, glowing bright and steady within the machine. The fire core lived again. The hall shook with the sound of dragons hissing, some in shock, some in anger. The whispers rose louder. He did it. A human, repairing the fire core? Impossible. Aaron stood, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His hands burned from heat, but he held his head high. He had done it. The leader's burning eyes locked on him. For the first time, Aaron thought he saw something like respect in them. One test passed, the leader said, his voice heavy. But the true trial is still ahead. The hall erupted with noise. Flames flickered in the shadows. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, hungry for the next challenge. Aaron climbed out of the pit, his legs trembling. The dragon woman stood waiting. For the first time, she allowed herself a small nod. "You surprised them," she whispered. "And me." Aaron let out a shaky laugh, though his voice was hoarse. One test down, then. But the pride in his chest was quickly replaced by dread. Because the leader's final words still echoed in his mind. The true trial is still ahead. The fire core still burned behind him, its glow lighting the dragon hall. Aaron's chest rose and fell as he tried to calm his breath. His hands were raw, his skin stung from the heat, but he had done it. He had proven himself at least once. The dragons surrounding the pit hissed and muttered. Some looked angry, others unsettled. A human was not supposed to succeed. Their whispers crawled across the chamber like snakes. Luck. He cheated. He cannot pass the next. Aaron clenched his fists. He wanted to shout at them, to tell them that skill was not luck, that machines spoke to him in ways dragons could never understand. But his voice would be wasted here. The only way to speak to them was to survive. The clan leader raised a hand, and the hall fell silent. His molten eyes burned as he stepped forward. "You have mended what was broken," the leader rumbled. "But the true measure of worth is not skill. It is courage." Aaron's stomach tightened. He already knew what was coming. The leader's voice boomed through the chamber. The trial of fire. The dragons roared in approval, their voices shaking the walls. Sparks fell from the ceiling like ash. Aaron's throat went dry. The dragon woman stood at his side, her golden eyes steady, but her face unreadable. She leaned close enough for him to hear her whisper, "Remember what I told you. Fear is death." He nodded quickly, though his heart pounded so loudly, he was sure the entire hall could hear it. Two dragons stepped forward, their massive forms shifting. Flesh melted into scale, bones stretched into wing and claw. Within seconds, they were no longer human-shaped but full beasts, towers of scale, fire, and wings. Their roars shook the mountain. The floor split open with a deafening crack, revealing a long tunnel sloping down into darkness. A wave of heat rushed upward, burning Aaron's skin. The leader pointed toward the flames below. "Enter. Walk through the fire. If you survive, you may live. If not..." His teeth bared in a jagged smile. "The flames will claim you." The dragons roared again. Aaron's legs felt heavy as stone. Walk into fire? Survive flames meant for dragons? Impossible. He looked at the dragon woman. She met his eyes with that fierce, unyielding gaze. Her lips did not move, but her eyes said everything. Go. Aaron swallowed hard. His bag still hung at his side, useless here. No wrench, no tool could protect him from fire. But he had given his word. He had promised he would not break. Slowly, he stepped toward the tunnel. Heat blasted against him, forcing sweat from his skin. His lungs struggled to breathe. The crowd of dragons grew quiet, watching. Aaron placed one foot inside. The stone beneath was hot enough to burn through his boots. The tunnel glowed faintly red, as though it led into the heart of the mountain itself. He hesitated. Fear clawed at him, begging him to turn back. Then he heard her voice, not aloud, but in his memory. "Tomorrow you face my clan. Don't show fear." He clenched his jaw, straightened his back, and walked inside. The heat grew unbearable within seconds. Flames licked at the walls, dripping like liquid fire. The air burned his lungs. His skin felt ready to blister. He forced himself forward. One step, another. His body screamed to stop, but he kept moving. His mind filled with images. Dragons laughing, the leader's fiery eyes, the dragon woman's warning. He thought of his workshop, of machines that had nearly killed him before, of times he had refused to give up even when the metal was ready to break. This was the same. A broken engine was repaired by will, by focus, by refusing to surrender. And so was he. The flames roared higher, swallowing the tunnel. Aaron stopped, gasping for air. His vision blurred. The fire seemed alive, wrapping around him, pressing closer. Fear whispered in his ear, "You will die here. You are nothing. Just a man. Just weak flesh." His knees shook. He wanted to collapse. But then another memory came. The dragon woman's eyes, fierce and burning with pride when he repaired the fire core. The small nod she had given him, the faintest sign of belief. He clung to that. Aaron straightened, forcing his legs to move again. He raised his chin, even as flames licked his clothes. He walked forward, step by step, through the heart of the fire. And suddenly he noticed something. The flames did not consume him. They burned close, wrapping around him like a living thing, but they did not devour. They tested. They pressed. They searched for weakness. He gave them none. Aaron kept walking. His breath came ragged, his skin red with heat, but he never bowed, never fell. At last, after what felt like hours, he reached the end. The tunnel opened back into the great hall. Aaron stumbled out, smoke rising from his clothes, sweat dripping from every pore. His lungs burned, his body shook, but he was alive. The dragons gasped. Their whispers filled the chamber again, louder this time. He survived. The fire did not kill him. Impossible. The leader's eyes narrowed, glowing hotter. He studied Aaron in silence, and for a moment Aaron thought he saw something new there. Not just doubt, not just curiosity, but a spark of respect. The dragon woman stepped forward. She did not smile, but her gaze burned with something stronger. Pride. Aaron looked back at her, barely able to stand, but he straightened his back anyway. He had survived. The leader raised his voice again. "You have walked through fire and lived. You have courage. But one trial remains." The hall shook with the sound of dragons hissing and roaring. Flames lit the air, shadows twisting along the walls. Aaron's chest tightened. One more test. One more chance to fail. The leader's voice thundered. "The final choice awaits." Aaron's body trembled, but he lifted his head, meeting the dragon's fiery gaze. Whatever came next, he would face it. Even if fear clawed at him, even if death was near, he would not bow. The hall still burned with the roar of dragons. Their cries echoed like thunder through the stone chamber. The trial of fire was over, yet Aaron felt no relief. His chest still ached, his skin still burned, and his legs trembled. But he was alive, and that, it seemed, was more than the dragons had expected. The leader stepped forward, his massive form glowing like molten rock. The firelight clung to his scales, casting shadows that swallowed the walls. His voice was deep enough to shake the air. "You walked through fire and lived. You have courage. But now comes the final test." The hall grew quiet. The dragons leaned forward, their eyes burning with hunger for what was to come. Aaron forced himself to stand tall, though his whole body screamed to collapse. He swallowed hard, his throat dry as ash. "What is it?" he asked, his voice rough but steady. The leader bared his teeth in a smile sharp enough to cut stone. "The trial of choice. The last measure of your worth." The dragon woman stepped closer, her golden eyes flashing with warning. Aaron caught the faintest whisper from her lips, so low no dragon could hear. "Be ready. This is the hardest test. Aaron's stomach twisted. Harder than fire? Harder than death? The leader raised a clawed hand, and a circle of flame erupted in the center of the hall. From it rose two images like fire-made illusions, burning visions of paths that could not exist at the same time. The first vision showed him chained, broken, kneeling before the dragons. His hands were bound, his head lowered. The leader's voice spoke. Submit. Bow your life to the clan. Become ours. You will live, but never free. Aaron's chest tightened. His whole life had been about fixing things, about solving what was broken. Not bowing, not giving up. Yet here, submission promised survival. The fire shifted, forming a second vision. This one showed him standing proud, head held high, but the flames around him consumed his body, burning him to ash. Defy us. Reject the clan. Die for your pride. The dragons rumbled in approval. Their eyes glittered, eager for him to kneel, or eager to see him burn. Either choice was blood to them. Aaron's heart pounded. His mind screamed. Two paths, both ending in chains, one of fire, one of slavery. The dragon woman's eyes were locked on him. She said nothing now, but her silence spoke louder than words. She could not guide him. He had to choose. Aaron drew a shaking breath. The leader's voice thundered again. Choose, human. Bend or burn. The hall grew silent. The fire's crackle the only sound. Dozens of dragon eyes glowed in the dark, waiting for him to fall, waiting for him to break. Aaron lowered his head, thinking. Every instinct told him to choose survival. To kneel, to live, even if as a servant. What good was death? But then another thought came. He remembered his workshop, the quiet hum of machines, the smell of oil and metal. He remembered the nights he spent fixing engines no one believed could work again. Every failure, every scar, every burn mark on his hands told the same truth. He had never given up. Machines broke, but they could be mended. Even people could be mended. But chains? Chains broke everything. Slowly, Aaron raised his head. His voice came out steady, even as the fire burned hotter around him. I will not kneel. The hall erupted in chaos. Dragons roared, wings thrashed, flames burst against the walls. Their fury shook the mountain. The leader's eyes blazed brighter, his mouth curling into something between a snarl and a laugh. You choose death, then? Aaron's heart hammered, but he shook his head. No, I choose life, but not as a slave, not as your toy. I stand on my own. I will walk beside you, or not at all. The hall fell silent again. The words hung heavy in the air. The fire illusions flickered, bending, twisting. Neither path, the chains nor the fire, matched his words. He had chosen something else, something that wasn't given. The dragons muttered in confusion. Some hissed in anger. Others stared, wide-eyed. The leader's gaze locked on Aaron, unblinking, unreadable. For a long moment, the hall seemed to freeze. Then, slowly, the leader began to laugh. The sound was deep, like rocks breaking apart. You refuse both paths, he said. His eyes gleamed like burning suns. You defy the trial itself. You create a new choice. Aaron stood his ground. If your trials are only to chain me or burn me, then your clan is weak. Strength is not in forcing death or slavery. Strength is in walking forward, no matter the path. The hall shook with gasps. The dragons recoiled as if struck. No one had ever spoken to them this way. The dragon woman's lips curved into the faintest smile. Pride burned in her eyes. The leader lowered his massive head, until his glowing eyes were level with Aaron's. Human, he rumbled. You are either the most foolish creature I have ever seen, or the bravest. Aaron's body trembled, but he did not look away. The leader's laughter roared again, shaking dust from the ceiling. He rose to his full height, turning to the clan. He is no slave. He is no ash. He is fire that walks, and fire bows to none. The dragons erupted not with fury, but with awe. Their roars filled the hall, wings beat the air, flames burst upward like a storm. The leader turned back to Aaron, eyes blazing. You are worthy. Aaron exhaled, a shudder running through him. He had done it. He had faced them all and survived. Not with chains, not with death, but with choice. The dragon woman stepped forward, her golden eyes softening for the first time. She touched his arm gently. You are one of us now. But more than that, you are yourself. Aaron met her gaze. I didn't do this alone. For the first time, she smiled. The Hall of Dragons roared again, their voices rising into the night sky. The fire above burned brighter, as if the mountain itself recognized his choice. Aaron stood tall, battered but unbroken, beside the dragon woman. Together they faced the clan, not as prisoner and guard, not as slave and master, but as equals. And deep in the firelit shadows, he knew this was only the beginning. The human had passed the trials, but new dangers awaited beyond the mountain. Would the clan truly accept him? Or would greater enemies rise against them both? Find out in the next story. Subscribe now and join the fire.